Is Star Wars in trouble? Or is it the best that it's ever been? Let's get into it. All right, guys. So when we're thinking about the state of Star Wars in 2022, I think it's important for us to not start in the present, but start in the past.
No!
I know.
Please, don't say it. I don't want to go there.
It's painful, but we got to talk about it.
That's a place you're not supposed to go.
Yeah, I know. With a place where the light doesn't touch, right?
What about that shadowy place?
That's beyond our borders. You must never go there, Simba.
Specifically, the Star Wars sequels. Now, here's the thing. I think we can both agree that the Star Wars sequels were controversial, right?
Sucked!
Yeah.
They sucked so bad.
We didn't like them. We didn't like them.
No.
There are people out there that did, and that all power to you. But the thing about the Star Wars sequels is that they were a departure from anything we had seen before because they were introducing new characters, right? They attempted to. Did it work?
Finn, and I'm in charge. I'm in charge now, Phasma.
No.
Look, when we watched the Force Awakens trailer, okay, I will be the first to admit we were excited. We're like, new characters. Who's Rey? Who's this guy with the lightsaber? Who's Fett, right? But they didn't deliver. They didn't deliver. What our hopes got. I mean, the movie wasn't bad. No. If I had to if you had to really just pull my teeth a little bit, it was not bad. But it didn't deliver on the promise that I feel like it was showing us in the trailers.
And whatever Force Awakens was, The Last Jedi took that and like buried it in the ground, and threw it in the garbage can, right?
Boom.
The Last Jedi, to me, was an antithesis of everything that is Star Wars. And if I look at the sequels as a whole, they represent that. It was almost a rebellion against everything that Star Wars stood for.
Rebellion?
I know. I see what I did there.
Yeah. Except not the good kind, though.
Right. And the thing is, this was Star Wars, this was Lucasfilm and Disney's attempt to introduce new characters, but in the process of introducing new characters, they ended up dishonoring the old ones. Right? And so you end up leaving with a sour taste in your mouth because, their attempt at introducing new characters ended up not working out well because you dishonored the old characters.
Yeah,
right?
I think there's a lot of like threads that just were cut off too early or they didn't get to the end of the thread wasn't really that great.
Yeah.
Because let's be honest here, right? There was no plan.
There wasn't a plan.
We know that now, people. There was no plan. And it really just reflected in those movies because you got excited for one, and you saw the trailer for the next one, and you're like, wait a second, this doesn't seem like it connects.
Yeah.
And to Jeff's point, they did a lot of dishonoring to the characters. Not even in Force Awakens. In Force Awakens, they did it with Han, with the whole Kylo Ren situation, with Luke.
Yep.
And then in the next movie, they did it again. And the next movie, they did it again. And I think, honestly, if you want to understand Star Wars, where we're at now, at this point in time, it's really these movies that set up this whole attitude in this new generation of stuff.
Yeah, and that's what we're going to see is that the stuff that we're getting now, Boba Fett, Mandalorian, is a direct response to how the audience and how Star Wars fans received the sequels. All right, guys, so now let's move on into the present, where we are today.
Oh, I don't know if I want to be here either.
Okay. Well, let's break it down, right? Because
it's not all bad.
After the sequels, right, we got wind of this live-action Star Wars series. And the internet was abuzz with excitement.
Oh,
right?
yeah, I was excited
A live-action, high-budget Star Wars show.
And all our dreams.
Coming true,
finally.
And obviously, expectations were high. And that granted. And so then we started seeing stills of this mysterious Mandalorian, right? And I think that's when the hype truly began, where we were all like, okay, started to just think about, okay, who is this guy? He must be some kind of bounty hunter.
Yeah.
And for me, the wheels in my head started to turn.
Me too. Because what do you think when you see a Mandalorian? Boba Fett, Jango Fett, right? Maybe if you're a Clone Wars watcher, maybe you're thinking about the whole Mandalorian arc, but most people aren't thinking that. They're thinking Boba Fett, right? So you're thinking, okay, he's going to be like this cold, steely bounty hunter, maybe some sort of anti-hero. Yep. it's going to be epic. Bounty hunting, maybe Coruscant.
Yeah.
Who knows where they're going to take this, right?
I think for a long time, people wanted to see the gritty part of Star Wars.
Yeah.
There was people really wanted to delve deep into like the nitty gritty parts of Star Wars that we don't always see. And so what I thought was that this show was going to be that. But Chris, can I ask you a question? Chris? Was it that?
2 words. Actually, 1 or 2 words, depending on how you put it. Baby Yoda.
Yeah.
Right? Did anybody see that coming? Now, I'm not saying Baby Yoda's not cute.
I think we all know that he's cute.
The very practical effects, you know, the way they animate him, awesome. And I'm not going to say that I'm not going to just completely crap on The Mandalorian and say it's like horrible, because it was cool. You know, a lot of cool stuff, interesting storylines, interesting implications. But I think what it suffered from is, number one, it is sitting between the best movie, some of the best movies ever made, and some of the worst movies ever made, and it's got to do something with that period in between. That's not an easy task, right? On top of that, first live action Star Wars series, a lot of pressure. And Baby Yoda to me was the cop out. They're like, you know what would make this so that everybody likes it? A really, really cute character. And if you ask me, like, what about the other cool stuff about the show? Okay, like what? Exactly.
I can sum up all that in a few words. They played it safe. Because we just talked about the sequels, and we talked about how with the sequels they thought they were taking a big risk. They thought they were being, creative with
edgy,
that, and it didn't work. It didn't work. Because they didn't execute it properly, but in their minds it didn't work. So how do we combat that? We play it safe. Rather than taking this edgy seeming character and giving him a edgy story, we undercut it with a cute, cuddly little baby Yoda, Grogu. This way, we capture all kinds of people. Now, did it work? Yes. But, Chris, what you said was, I'm not going to crap on The Mandalorian. I'm sorry, but I'm going to come out and say that it was mediocre. It was mediocre.
I will 100% agree with that. It was mediocre in the sense that maybe it's our fault. As Star Wars fans, our expectations are too high. We should have learned from the sequels, right? Like, it's the same people, essentially. I mean, Jon Favreau and Dave Filoni were more involved, so maybe we kind of trusted in them. But to be honest, like, even if we had our expectations lowered a lot, and I think this speaks to all the present series in Star Wars, it's like this. Oh, Luke, this.
And this is what I want to get to, right? Clearly, the fans didn't like the sequels. Let's say the reaction was mixed. And so,
with the majority leaning, I think, against.
And so for us as the fans, the place where we feel the safest is in the hands of the past. In other words, Luke, Tatooine. And so what did Disney do? They embraced that wholeheartedly. They understood that. They think that that's what the fans want. And we are to blame. We are to blame. Because if you watch our Mandalorian reactions and stuff, you will see us freaking out about Luke and Ahsoka and Tatooine, R2-D2. We are not, we are absolutely susceptible to it. But at the same time, we have to understand that as long as we're susceptible to it, Disney will keep doing it.
That's a good point.
Because if you look at The Mandalorian as a show, the best part of the show, season 2 finale, Luke comes, right? We freaked out. A moment of incredible joy, arguably. But then if you look at The Mandalorian as a whole, without that moment, it would have been mediocre at best. And that is the tough truth. It was mediocre at best.
Well, I mean, let's not even stick. I mean, we have The Mandalorian, we have the Boba Fett as well, right? We just finished, season finale, Boba Fett. This is supposed to be this big series, and you would think, right? Here's this character from our past, Return of the Jedi, Empire Strikes Back, and you think, oh man, you know what? In all honesty, my expectations were not super high, but I'm like, here's this character that's finally what is going to push the limits a little bit. Like, going to be our edgy character, going to be our anti-hero. And what do we get instead? Again, what we get is this soft, cuddly man that just wants to retire on Tatooine and whatever. And really what
takes in some kids.
Takes in some kids.
Under his wing.
And not only that, it was so bad. And obviously they didn't do it for this reason, but it was so bad that they had to basically take half the show and just make it the Mandalorian again.
Yeah. In other words, they played it safe. In other words, they appealed to the one thing that they know will always work. And Disney is probably the greatest perpetrator of this with all the sequels and remakes of Lion King, Jungle Book. Let's just put in Luke again. Let's put in Ahsoka again. Because again, as the fans, we freaked out. We jumped for joy.
Did we get Disney Plus to watch it? Yep.
Yep.
You're damn right we did. Did we watch every episode religiously? Yes, we did.
Yep.
Right? And we're gonna probably keep doing it.
And here we are at this point where after watching the season finale, I have this odd taste in my mouth. This that wasn't good. Like seeing Luke again, great, sure, but it wasn't a good show. It wasn't good quality writing.
Yeah.
Right. Oh, the effects were great, practical effects great, but the writing was lazy.
You know what's the worst about it? Because these are the sequels of Star Wars TV shows, and what I mean by that is, if you look at the sequels, right? Before that, what came before that? The prequels. And the prequels, say what you want about them, but there's something magical about them, right? Because even if you don't like them, there's still these quotable lines, and you can make memes about them. There's just so much in them.
Yeah.
In the TV era, before we got the Mandalorian stuff, we had Dave Filoni shows, Clone Wars, things like that. Even Rebels. And in that era, it's the same thing. There's quotable lines. There's memorable scenes. There's awesome moments.
Yep.
And so we see those things, and we're like, well, obviously it can't get any worse because they're going to learn. They're going to grow from these experiences. They're going to use their increased money and technology and make this better. But for some reason, it's going downhill.
Again, and this is why, because, when you have an animated show, right, your budget isn't that much, right?
Right.
And maybe not that many people are watching. And so your ability to experiment is much higher. But when you have a big budget show like The Mandalorian and The Book of Boba Fett, all of a sudden, that risk factor comes in. It's like, okay, well, if we try this or we try that, what if it doesn't work? What if we get a sequel situation again, where we pour all this money, all these new characters, new ideas, and it doesn't work?
Yep.
And so I see these shows, The Mandalorian and The Book of Boba Fett, as reactions, gut reactions to, I guess that didn't work, so then let's just play it safe.
Yeah.
Let's just play it safe.
Yep.
And again, like I said, when you have a show like The Book of Boba Fett, where the two best episodes have nothing to do with Boba Fett, but Mandalorian and Grogu, what does that say?
Add a layer or two to what the story is showing. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like, okay, fine, you're going to do Boba Fett in the way you're going to do him. You're going to make him sweet and cuddly, fine. But maybe have a scene where he reverts back to his old bounty hunter ways and goes crazy and just destroys everybody. Just one scene. Or I think they tried with that whole Tusken Raider kind of spiritual experience, but
they left that thread loose.
Yeah,
they never did anything with that again.
What was the point?
Yeah,
if you were gonna do something with it, bring back the Tusken Raiders, make him a Tusken Raider, make him the chieftain of the Tusken Raiders, and have him help them rebel against the Pikes.
And look, this isn't to say anything against the actors, right? Tim Morrison, Ming-Na Wen, right? Pedro Pascal.
Yeah.
Great actors. They do the best with what they're given, and they did a great job.
I think so.
But you can clearly tell, and I think it's important for us as Star Wars fans to take the nostalgia glasses off. Because
I might have to retire them.
Yeah.
I don't know.
And because I actually looked up an article in Neuroscience News about nostalgia. And the thing to know about nostalgia, which you probably wouldn't know just offhand, is that the more you engage in nostalgia on a daily basis, or in other words, the more frequently you engage in nostalgia, the more unhappy you feel.
Ooh.
Think about that for a second. Right now, Chris, when you saw Luke the first time, great. You saw Luke the second time, still great. You saw Luke the third time? Okay, great. But imagine being at a place where seeing Luke Skywalker sours in your head.
Yeah.
Because they're punching you in the face with nostalgia over and over and over.
It's lazy.
It's lazy.
It is very lazy. You know what? You're right. If I really think about it, I love Luke Skywalker. Luke Skywalker is probably my first hero. But at this point, he feels like bait. To get me to watch things that are not good.
Doesn't it almost feel like a correction, right? Because how we saw Luke in Rise of Skywalker and The Last Jedi.
Which
right?
I have no problem with. That part of it
Yeah.
You go ahead and correct it.
Yeah.
Put it in another timeline. Do whatever you got to do.
Yeah.
But don't keep thinking that that's going to be enough.
It's like
for
Disney
me.
saw us react to that moment, and they're like, "Oh, now we have the answer. Let's just keep plugging Luke and Ahsoka and nostalgia in their faces, because then they won't care if the story is mediocre. As long as they see Luke again, and we just kind of throw in those tidbits every once in a while, that'll be enough."
Yeah.
So when we're talking about the future of Star Wars, obviously the number one thing that comes to mind is Kenobi. That is
true. That's exciting.
It is. It is
Right?
exciting.
Like, as negative as it might seem like we are with the present and even the past, we're still positive about what Star Wars can do, and Kenobi is a good sign.
Well, I'm actually going to disagree with you there.
Oh.
Yes, because Kenobi. Look, I love Ewan McGregor. I love him as Obi-Wan Kenobi, of course. But we're still talking about a past character.
Yeah.
Right? Just like with Han, right? With Obi-Wan Kenobi, like what they're doing is they're trying to fill in all these blanks. They're trying to rehash these characters that are beloved for certain.
Yeah.
But they belong in the past. And
yeah.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, I would say this, right? I would say that if they had never done Mandalorian, then I would feel differently. Like, we wouldn't feel that way about Kenobi. Because Kenobi is what we've always wanted. We've always wanted to know.
But the thing is,
At least for me.
I guess
I've always wanted to know, what was he doing the whole time?
But the thing is, there is something to say about like mystery. And the thing is, sometimes as fans, it's okay to fill in those blanks yourself. Do we need every answer to every corner of the Star Wars universe? Do we need to have every color filled in?
It's like Lion King 1.5.
Our dream sublime. It's hyena time.
It's like what they were doing
Yeah,
throughout all that stuff.
Was it great? Was it great? Yeah.
It's like, do we really need to know? Not really.
And that's the thing, like with Han, did we need to know Han's backstory? No.
No.
Do we absolutely need to know everything that Obi-Wan was doing during that in-between period? No. If anything, it might make it better for us to just not know.
You know why Kenobi, I hope, will be good? 2 words. Ready? Darth Maul.
Awesome.
Okay? He is the exception to the nostalgia rule. Okay? If they find an excuse and a way for them to either interact or bring Darth Maul in,
Yeah.
he's not going to, because he's not Luke. It's different.
Obi-Wan, I'm incredibly excited for this show. I'm going to watch it. We're going to react to it.
Of course we're going to watch it, yeah.
But it is the safe thing to do. I think we can acknowledge it is the safe bet. Ahsoka is a safe bet.
Well,
Mandalorian Season 3 is a safe bet.
I would disagree about Ahsoka, actually. Because Ahsoka, to me, is one of the most nuanced characters in Star Wars. And the fact that they portrayed her that way, right? She's not like a Jedi, and she's not a Sith. She's kind of in between. She's a little bit of a gray Jedi that's kind of good.
It's intriguing for sure, right?
Yeah.
She's a great character.
Yeah.
We watched so many seasons of Clone Wars with her. We've already spent time with her, which is what I'm saying. All of these characters we have been with, we have seen, we've experienced.
Yeah.
And I understand their reluctance to introduce new characters. I get that. But at the same time, they're looking at Star Wars in the short term and not the long term. Because what is a little kid?
Maybe.
What does a little kid or a teenager care about Obi-Wan?
Yeah.
Or Ahsoka or
Yeah.
Luke?
Yep.
Rey, maybe. For some kids, that might have been. But I'm like, it's okay to try again. It's okay to just try again.
Yeah.
And that's all I'm saying. I'm excited about the future of Star Wars.
The games,
you
know, those are going to be exciting.
I'm content with the present of Star Wars in 2022.
Yeah.
Discontented with the past. But I genuinely think that in order for Star Wars to evolve and not leave the past behind, but honor the past, we have to take risks.
I think what they honestly need, they need the prequels again. They need something on that scale, that level of risk taking. Because think about how many, I mean, if you want to talk about kids, think about how many toys the prequels sold. You had the pod races, the Naboo fighters, the lightsabers, the Gungans, the Jar Jar Binks toys, everything you could make a toy because there was a lot of complexity there.
Mm-hmm.
You know, adults could watch it, but fundamentally it was like a space opera adventure.
Yeah.
Right? What the sequels became was this sort of like weird kind of like, oh, let's take almost like a Criterion Collection movie. It's like, oh, let's get into these different directors and see what they do with Star Wars. It's like, I don't want to know what they want to do with Star Wars. Give it to George Lucas and just let him have a ball. Because you know what? At first, you might not you're like, oh, prequel is like weird lines, sand, it's coarse. But you know what? All of it's memorable. All of it's fun. It's all an adventure.
And the thing is, people are still talking about the prequels. To this day, people are still talking about the prequel. Do you hear anybody talking about the sequels?
Aside from us.
And can anybody remember the names of these characters?
Nope.
And so when it comes to the future of Star Wars, right? We enjoy what we're getting, right?
Yeah.
Of course, because as people who have loved Star Wars for such a long time, this is in some ways a dream come true for us as little kids to see all these characters live action, full
and
budget.
have so much Star Wars all the time. We don't have to wait for movies in between movies.
But having a cookie too many times, you eat too many cookies, you start to get a stomachache, right? Which is an analogy that you used, Chris, in a few videos back, which I really liked. We all love cookies, but you eat too many of them, you start getting a stomachache. And sometimes it's time to eat something different.
Yeah, you don't have to go on a diet. Yeah, don't go on a diet, but try some cake. You know what I mean? Try some pie.
Yeah.
We don't have to have cookies all the time.
Yeah, and so that's our take on Star Wars in 2022 and in the future. And I think there's a relevant quote by George Lucas that I want to bring up, which just some food for thought for you guys, which is he was giving a speech, and I think he was giving a talk at a college, and he talked about happiness. And he said that happiness has two sides to it. There's joy, and then there's pleasure. He's like, pleasure is short term, right? The highs are really high. The peaks are really high, but it doesn't last long. But joy, on the other hand, the highs aren't maybe quite as high, but it lasts forever. Pleasure is self-serving. Joy is giving. And so when I think about Star Wars, and I think about this tug of war that we're having right now between short-term pleasure and long-term joy. I want you guys to think about that. Is what we're getting now in 2022 a formula for long-term joy or just short-term pleasure? Thank you for watching, and we will see you on the next one.
Bye, guys.